All right, welcome to level 14. Going to talk about today distributing a negative. This one gets weird with the drawing strategy. So make this the title on the next free page in your math notebook. After you have done that, please mark that page and concentrate with me. All right, before we distribute a negative, let's just remember how the distributive property works in general. Just bring that back to mind. So we've learned how to do problems like this. If we draw it, remember that 2 in the parentheses means 2 groups of whatever's in those parentheses. So that's what's in the parentheses. And we have 2 of it. 3 opposite of x. I like to stack them so it's clear that that's what I was doing there, rather than combining them right off the bat. And 24. And now we're ready to solve this as always. We can remove 10 and remove 10. And that would leave us with those negative 6x's and 14. Oh, and it looks like, unless I did something wrong, we would get some kind of a decimal here. Correct? Yeah, I think so. Negative 6x making 14 would be some sort of opposite of x would be 2 and some fraction. And I could do it with a calculator too. I'm just not going to bother because I'm not reviewing that, which means x would be 2 in whatever fraction that was. I'm sorry, negative 2 in whatever fraction that was. Inverse operation strategy. I don't need a t-table. I need 2 times negative 3x plus 5 is equal to 24. So distribute the 2. I would get negative 6x plus 10, exactly like I got over there, equal to 24. Subtract 10, subtract 10. Negative 6x equals positive 14. Divide by negative 6, divide by negative 6, and I'm going to take the lazy answer, which is 14 divided by negative 6 is negative 14 sixths, or negative 2 and 2 sixths. So that's that fraction I didn't find over there. So what today, if the number we have to distribute is negative, how in the world do I draw negative 2 groups of something? So that's what's new today. Visual strategy is going to be very different today. And that's the one we're going to head to first because that's the new stuff. So let's figure that out. I'm going to draw my 14 here. But how in the world do I draw negative 2 groups of something? Well, for starters, let's not subtract. Let's not make that that minus 3 a concern. Let's switch that to plus negative 3. So I'd like to draw 2 groups of that. I can't do it. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to think of the 2 and the opposite sign separately. I'm going to draw 2 groups of what's in there. But this opposite sign is going to make I'm going to draw the opposite of everything that's in there as well. So rather than drawing 2 groups of positive 5x, I'm going to draw 2 groups of negative 5x, or the opposite of 5x. Instead of drawing 2 groups of negative 3, I'm going to draw 2 groups of the opposite of that, which is positive 3. I'm going to treat that negative sign like it's an opposite sign for everything inside as well. So that's how I'm going to handle drawing negative 2 groups of it. So I would start by drawing 5x plus negative 3 twice. But I haven't dealt with that. I didn't draw negative 2 groups of it. I drew positive 2 groups of it. I just drew it normally. So I'm going to make the opposite sign distributed next. So everything in there is just going to get oppositized, which is not a word, but I do like to say it. And that's how I handle drawing or distributing a negative with the drawing strategy. That should work. Now we can solve this as usual. Take away 6. Take away 6. That leaves us with 8. I in the drawing, didn't I? It's not 14, it's negative 14. So sorry. Let me go back and fix that. You guys are so patient with me. It's a video. I can't tell if you're patient with me or not. I'll just assume you are. Sorry, that was negative 14 back in the problem, which I missed. So if we take 6 away from negative 14, that's the same as adding negative 6 to it or putting negative 6 with it. So now when we take away negative 6, I'll end up with those 10 opposite x's. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And rather than 8, I'm sorry about that, I'll end up with negative 20. Got to write your problem down right now. Now it's pretty obvious to me what each is. Each of these opposite of x's must be negative 2 in order at negative 2, 2, 2, 2, 2, 2, 2 to make negative 20, which means x itself is positive 2. So that's how you handle distributing the negative with the drawing strategy. With the inverse operation strategy, it's really no different than if it were positive. You just have to know your positive and negative rules well. That's the big thing. So if this negative 2 were positive, we would just multiply it by everything in the parentheses after we add the opposite, of course. And so I'm just going to do that with the negative 2. No big deal. Negative 2 times 5 is negative 10x. Negative 2 times negative 3 is 6. Positive 6 equals negative 14. Don't let me forget that that's negative this time. Now it's a good old two-step reverse gems. Subtract 6, subtract 6. Negative 10x equals negative 20. Divide by negative 10. Divide by negative 10. And x equals positive 2. Same as it did over there. Nicely done. Let's check and make sure that that's right. Let's use substitution. Always a good habit to be in to make sure you get these. If I'm right and I substitute, remember that's called substitution, easy word to forget, I should put that answer into the original problem. Negative 2 times 2 plus negative 3, or 2 minus 3 in the original problem, either way, equals negative 14. I just need to make sure that's right. That doesn't look right. Oh, because I forgot the 5. I'm on a cold streak today, huh? So sorry. 2 times 5 times our answer. 5 times 2. There we go. So let's see. If I do the parentheses first, that would be 10 plus negative 3 is negative 7. So I should now have that negative 2 times all that stuff in there is positive 7 should equal negative 14. And it does. We got it. Okay. So let's do one more before you write, just so I can show you what happens if the coefficient is negative. So now I have a negative here and a negative here, different from the last one. I may just show one strategy with this because it's not terribly different, but I do want you to be able to see both scenarios. So I want to draw that, and I can't draw negative 2 groups of that. Too annoying, too strange of a thing. So what I can do, however, is draw 2 groups of it. Let me not subtract first. I can draw 2 groups of what's in there, and then do the opposite of everything as well. So I would do that. So I would say I'm going to have 4 negative x, or 4 opposite of x, and a negative 3, 2 times, equals 46. And now that's 2 groups of the parentheses, not negative 2 groups of the parentheses. So I would go back then and say, okay, it's also the opposite being distributed, the opposite of everything in there. And then I would solve it like that from there. So nothing new there, just getting you used to, if this number starts negative, when we distribute the negative, it'll become positive, and vice versa on the last one. Okay, let's do one in your notes. I was going to do both with the positive and a negative. Let's just do, oop, I didn't erase that one, so let's just do this one. Why don't we? All right, so this is what's new. If you want to make sure you know that. Distribute a negative. So let's do that. The way I'm going to do that is I'm going to do 3 groups of the parentheses, then opposite of everything. If you want to write, just so you know what you're doing. So what I like to do here is draw positive 3 groups of what's in the parentheses. And if you even want to change colors or something, there's positive 3 groups. And then, thanks to the negative, or the opposite, I'm going to end up making everything the opposite of what it was. So I'm also distributing the negative. Opposite, 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 opposite. Equals 75. Now I'm ready to solve it like normal. These negative 8s, we get rid of these 3 negative 8s by putting a positive 24 on that side. Negative 24, positive 24, that'll make that all go away. So I would also put a positive 24 on this side. Then when I redraw, the 3 opposite of x's equal 99. That means each opposite of x must be positive 33 to make 99. So x equals negative 33. Okay. Inverse operation strategy, not really anything new today. You just have to know your rules well enough to use another negative number there. Not a terribly big thing. So if that 3 were positive, we would just multiply it by everything in the parentheses, distribute it among the x and the 8, and that's what we're going to do when it's negative 2. No big deal. Negative 3 times x is negative 3x. Negative 3 times 8 is negative 24. You'll notice we ended up the same thing, right? Here's your negative 3x, here's your negative 24. It's always the same with both strategies. I just know you sometimes have a preference one or the other. Now we get rid of that negative 24 with a positive 24. Of course, that's exactly what we did here. Divide by negative 3, divide by negative 3, and we get that x equals negative 33. And we match. Check real quick. If we're right, we should be able to substitute that into the original question. So we should find that negative 3 times negative 33 plus 8 equals 75 if we're right. Negative 33 plus 8 is negative 25. So negative 3 times negative 25 should be positive 75, and it is. We got it. See, that's how you distribute a negative to solve an equation when you need to do that. Hope this made a lot of sense. If it does, you're ready for you do together and you do alone. If not, go back, give this another watch, or come see me and we'll work it out. And I'll see you on the next one.